Early spring in the garden isn't all about the color. Even though it's so exciting to finally start seeing the spring bulbs in bloom, for us it's all about a reset. Before the growth properly kicks in, now is the perfect window to start thinking about your long-term structure of the garden. Hard landscaping, planting beds, soil health and plant health. This is the perfect opportunity to reset everything. Early in the season, weeds aren't just unsightly, they're competitive. As soil temperature rises, root systems expand quickly. If you allow weeds to establish now, they compete directly with established planting for moisture and nutrients at the exact point plants are breaking dormancy. In larger gardens especially, this is about protecting planting structure. Strong root systems now mean balanced, resilient growth throughout summer. Early intervention with weeds reduces reactive work later. Most problems in the gardens don't start dramatically. They build quietly. Therefore, early spring is where we interrupt that cycle. Back in January, when I was planting the spring bulbs in the borders along the path, I told you about the benefits of mulching. It is still a perfect time to be mulching your borders, especially if you've removed the weeds and you want to suppress the new growth. Mulching in early spring is less about appearance and more about regulating the growing environment. A good organic mulch stabilizes soil temperature, locks in moisture, suppresses early weed germination, and gradually improves soil structure as it breaks down, setting planting up for stronger, more resilient growth throughout the year. One of my least favorite things to do in the garden is actually cleaning the patio. It gets really exciting at the beginning once you start seeing how it all washes off, but then it just gets quite boring. Because this patio hasn't been done for a while probably. Definitely hasn't been done since we moved into this house a couple months ago. So there's quite a lot of algae growing on it. So when it's wet, when it's raining, it's quite slippy. And then as you can see, there's quite a lot of grass growing in between the slabs. And I often film here, so it gets in the way, it gets in the background, and it really annoys me. So we need to deal with it today. First thing before we clean the patio is obviously getting rid of the grass in between the slabs. But it's not just about the cosmetic appearance. Once weed roots establish deeply, they start disrupting jointing and holding moisture against the stone. In freeze-thaw cycles, that moisture expands. Over time, that leads to movement, cracking, and surface instability. Removing growth early protects the integrity of the subbase and extends the lifespan of the hard landscaping. I'm using this garden scraper, which was ideal for removing weeds and moss from between the slabs. It lifted the weeds out with the whole root system. Then I used this weeding brush to remove the smaller weeds in between the slabs. Patios and pathways are significant investments. Ignoring small growth issues now creates structural repairs later. Even such a teeny tiny job has made such a massive difference. It looks so much better. But the next step is to get it power washed. Through winter in Scotland, patios take on far more than surface dirt. Moisture lingers, organic debris builds up, and shaded areas begin developing algae and biofilm. That surface layer traps moisture against the stone, creating a consistently damp environment. Over time, that accelerates surface erosion, staining, and gradual material breakdown. Patios are designed to shed water efficiently. When joints become clogged with moss and debris, drainage slows. Water sits longer than it should, increasing freeze-thaw stress and encouraging deeper biological growth. Early spring is the perfect opportunity to be removing this biological buildup. Once the patio dries, I will be filling the gaps with kiln-dried sand. Hard landscaping and planting work together. If one deteriorates, the whole garden loses balance. Cutting back old growth, particularly in herbaceous perennials, is about resetting plant architecture. Dead, incongested stems restrict airflow and light penetration. That increases fungal risk in damp conditions and weakens the overall form of the plant. By removing old material now, we encourage stronger basal growth and maintain structural clarity within the border. This is where maintenance becomes design. When tackling early spring gardening jobs, it isn't all about refreshing and resetting. It is important to think about the wildlife. Not every corner needs to be cleared. A pile of leaves like this provides shelter for overwintering pollinators and small mammals. It's all about a balance. Early springtime work rarely feels dramatic. There are no flowers yet, and there's no instant transformation, but we're building the foundations. By looking after our hard landscaping and our soil and plant health, we will ensure that the garden will be successful long term. I will be sharing more videos like this where we are building our garden with long-term success in our mind. I hope you find this useful, and if you're interested in more videos like this, please do subscribe to the channel. Cheerio!